Hi guys. It cut me off midway through video, so you're gonna have to watch it twice now. So this is gonna be video number 2 on texturing a slab. When we last left, I had started this slab and put the triangles on it. I'm gonna come back in now with the small design and just put a stamp in between here creating just another little texture on the piece. Now, I like that rolling stamp, so I'm going to get that rolling stamp and do a nice wave across here. And of course, I put it up. So now I'm going to come back in and just roll that across. Now that I've got my textures on here, I'm going to cut my design out. We know how big it is. It's 6 by 9. I've got the template here. I'm going to lay it back on where it was. Using a needle probe, I'm going to cut off all that excess clay. Now, this clay down here, save this. This is going to be the bottom of your tumbler. So don't wad this up, and then when I say, do you have a slab for your bottom? No. Well, you should have, because that's it right there. Let's get that out of the way. And now let's talk about how we're going to convert this into a cylinder. Now, if you did a slab foot ring on your pinch pot bowls, same technique, just a tall foot ring. Unless you're one of the guys who made the queso, then you know it's exactly like you did it. And as I'm saying that, I'm going, oh, I'm missing a tool already. I know there's a tool I'm going to need that I don't have with me. I'm going to spin this and roll this into a cylinder form. And I'm going to look at the back side here and see how well that goes together. If that doesn't come together real good, we're going to have to cut that. We talked about beveling when we were doing our foot rings on the slab foot rings. If it doesn't go together real smooth and mine looks here like it doesn't want to go together real good, I'm going to cut it. I'm going to use a cutout tool. Cutout tool. This is a cutout tool, all right? It's that wooden one with a little spear point on the end up here. At home, I generally use X-Actos, but they're dull X-Actos. I don't want you to get you a fresh blade on there and cut through your finger. As funny as that would be, I don't want you to get hurt in art class. So I've flipped it over now, so make sure I got a nice round here, a nice round there. So I'm going to bevel cut this. Try to get at an angle so you can see what I'm doing. I'm simply going to slide this down and cut it at an angle. That's going to allow these two pieces to come together more flush. Okay? Like we do everything, we're going to slip and score this together. Using a score tool, I'm going to heavily texture this side, score it up really strong, score both sides. Then I've got my vinegar water, and that's how I apply it. I don't want to, and I saw some of y'all doing this with your pinch pot bowls. You're scrubbing your texture with your brush. That defeats the purpose of putting the texture on there, because you're smoothing the surface back up. Remember, when we're attaching one piece of clay to another piece of clay, we've got to rough the surface up so the pieces go together. And that vinegar is like a glue. It's going to let these two pieces get together. How that works, I know I've said this in class, but just in case you're curious, vinegar is an acid, clay is an alkaline. They don't play well together. So the acid in the vinegar starts to dissolve the clay. Those dissolve together and mesh together, and now you're convinced these two pieces that they're one piece of clay, and you're not going to get a crack in your seam. I wish I'd grabbed that other tool when I was over there, because I'm going to need it in just a second. So I've got it together, and now I'm pushing my edges together I want to make sure that I got a strong bond between the two. And it gets a little tricky when you have an all over texture like I put on here. When I go to blend this, I'm gonna be messing up my texture. What I'll have to do is just come back after the fact and reapply texture and kind of clean things up. Notice I don't have one of these triangles here. After I got the seam cleaned up, I'll come back with that stamp and I'll put a stamp in there. Help me camouflage my seam a little bit. If I'm making a mug out of this, guess where my handle's gonna go? My handle's gonna go on that seam again, kind of camouflage it a little bit. Other people are gonna show other ways to do this. I like to put them butt end to butt end like we're doing right here, but other people will teach to overlap the two pieces and blend them. You can even accent that seam. You can, after you put it together, you can come back in with different texture tools and do stamps down that seam. You can make it look like it's riveted together. You can make it look like you've got a Phillips head screw holding together. So you can do all kinds of stuff. If you want to do one that's more steampunk style, go find some gears or something and use that and get a Phillips head screwdriver and stamp things in there, and you can make it look like screw heads holding the piece together. That's all up to you, however you want to make your piece. But now, to clean this up, I'm gonna get my rib, my red rubber rib, and notice I got my finger on the inside supporting that wall. I gotta do it on this side because I'm right-handed, sorry. So I've kind of taken care of the seam now on the outside. Very visible right now. We're gonna clean things up later. But I still have a seam on the inside. That's what I needed the other tool for. And I see it right there. I'm gonna go grab it. Wood modeling tool. Again, these are great tools to use to help smooth things out. It's long so I can reach in there. If I could do it with just my finger, I would, but because I'm on the inside here, I may not be able to reach it as well. And like always, I want my tool moist so it slides across the clay better. Sometimes I say things and it makes sense to me, but you're listening to me going, what in the world is he talking about? These are the times when you're in class, you go, Mr. Payne, what did you mean by? And I'll tell you what I meant by it. Right now, I don't like that seam on the inside. Can you see it? The seam here? I don't want to take a drink out of there and see that in my mug or in my tumbler. So I'm going to support the weight of this with my left hand, and using the wood modeling tool in a rounded motion, I'm going to blend that seam on the inside. When I look inside your mug and your tumbler, I don't want to see that seam on the inside. One, it's just not pretty, and no one needs to look at that. Two, it's going to, by doing this, I'm making sure that I'm not going to split my seam and it's not going to come apart on me in the drying process. So take your time and make sure you get a nice clean seam on the inside. You can see that now. Ooh. You're supposed to say off. So mine's in a cylinder now. That's as far as we need to go right now. I'm gonna do another video on how to attach the bottom. But there we are. Tumbler with texture. Thank you, guys.